5 specific firearms are now targeted by new legislation or enforcement actions that took effect in January 2026 or are scheduled to take effect later this year. These aren't hypothetical bans. These are real existing laws with real criminal penalties. If you own one of these firearms, you need to understand your legal options right now because the window for compliance might be closing. Gun number 1 on this list is the Colt AR-15 and similar direct impingement style semi-automatic rifles in Washington state. Washington has an assault weapons ban that took effect in July 2024, but enforcement is ramping up dramatically in 2026. Washington's new list of restricted weapons specifically targets rifles with certain configurations. The Colt AR-15 in its standard configuration falls under this ban. Washington law requires owners to register these rifles by October 2nd, 2026, or remove them from the state. If you own one in Washington and you don't register or remove it, you face criminal penalties starting at 7 days in jail for a first offense. Subsequent offenses, particularly if you sell or transfer the weapon, carry penalties up to 10 years in prison. Gun number 2 is any semi-automatic rifle with a pistol grip in California cities. California's AB 1127 bans certain semi-automatic rifles in specific cities. These bans take effect on different dates depending on your city. Some cities enacted bans that took effect January 1st. Other cities have bans taking effect later in 2026. The definition of banned firearms includes semi-automatic rifles with detachable magazines and certain features like pistol grips, folding stocks, or adjustable stocks. If you live in one of these California cities and own a banned rifle, you face criminal penalties, including up to 10 years in prison if you sell or transfer the weapon. Simply possessing it and not registering it is a criminal violation. Gun number 3 is any firearm that can accept magazines holding more than 10 rounds in California and Washington. Magazine bans have been upheld in both states and are being enforced increasingly aggressively. If you own standard capacity magazines for your rifle or pistol in California or Washington, you're technically in violation if those magazines hold more than 10 rounds. Penalties include criminal charges and forfeiture of the magazines. Some counties in California are now offering amnesty programs where you can surrender high-capacity magazines without prosecution, but that amnesty won't last forever. If you own these magazines and you're in California or Washington, you need to make a decision soon. Gun number 4 is any firearm that meets California's new definition of an assault weapon under recent legislative changes. California's assault weapon definition has been broadened multiple times. The current definition includes any semi-automatic rifle with certain features. AB 1127 expanded this list significantly. Some AR-15 variants that weren't previously classified as assault weapons are now banned. If you own one of these firearms in California and you're not registered in the state's firearms registry, you're in violation. Criminal penalties include felony charges that carry prison time. Gun number 5 is any semi-automatic shotgun with certain features in states moving toward cosmetic bans. Several states are considering or have implemented bans on semi-automatic shotguns with certain features, particularly those that can accept detachable magazines or have adjustable stocks. These bans are in early stages, but they're moving through legislatures. If you live in a state that's considering these bans, you're in a vulnerable position. Your shotgun might become illegal within months. Now, here's what's critical to understand. The federal government is not currently banning these firearms. What's happening is state and local governments are banning them through legislation. And when state and local bans are combined with enforcement actions by federal agencies like the ATF, the net effect is that many guns are becoming legally risky to own in specific jurisdictions. For example, the ATF recently announced increased enforcement of the ghost gun regulations. That means if your firearm falls under the ghost gun definition, the ATF is actively investigating and prosecuting violations. That's not a ban in the traditional sense. That's active enforcement against a specific type of firearm. The reason these bans are happening is because of the Supreme Court's Bruin decision and subsequent litigation. State legislatures are trying to ban firearms they believe are too dangerous. Gun rights organizations are challenging these bans. Courts are issuing mixed decisions. Some bans are being upheld, some are being struck down. The legal landscape is unstable. If you own any of these 5 firearms, your options are limited, but they exist. You can remove the firearm from your state if it's banned there. You can register it if your state offers registration programs. You can sell it to a licensed dealer. You can modify it to comply with state law. You can challenge the ban in court if you have standing, but you cannot ignore these bans and hope enforcement doesn't target you. Enforcement is increasing, not decreasing. The timeline is also critical. If a ban includes a compliance deadline, you need to meet that deadline or face criminal charges. Washington's October 2nd deadline is approaching. California's various deadlines are already in effect or coming soon. You don't have months to make decisions. You might have weeks or months in some cases. The other issue is that owning these firearms is becoming increasingly risky for your employment, housing, and financial prospects. If you're charged with possessing a banned firearm, even if you didn't know it was banned, a conviction follows you for life. Future employers will see it. Future landlords will see it. Future loan applications will be denied. The federal government might also get involved. If state bans are struck down by federal courts, there's potential for federal bans to follow as a response. Conversely, if federal courts uphold state bans, more states will likely implement similar bans. These 5 firearms represent the cutting edge of state level gun regulation in 2026.